Welcome to Great Insights. I'm StJohn Piano, CTO at Solidi Exchange and a blockchain advisor at Tela Network. The topic of today's episode is children and a shared vision of a common future. I'm going to start with the first quote, which is from Comanches by T.R. Fehrenbach, published 1994. This mountain hunter was not a noble savage. Such concepts were always illusions of highly organized, over-bureaucratized societies, wanting desperately to believe that man's nature was to be free, and that somehow civilization had tyrannized him. The Shoshone hunter was hardly a joyous creature of nature. The people were not clean, not good, not noble, not merciful, nor, hard as their life was, were they industrious. They were a people surviving by the skin of their teeth, beset by forces they could not comprehend. End quote. I start with this quote because I think it's important to remember that this is how life was for most of history, and perhaps will be again soon. Life is hard, and people tend to live on the edge of survival, and if you want to understand what people are and where we came from and how we behave, it's important to remember that. Yeah. Moving on to quote 2, which is from The Ancient City by Numa Denis Fastel de Coulanges, published 1916, page 64. In many Greek cities, the law punished celibacy as a crime. This was in accordance with the ancient belief. Man did not belong to himself, he belonged to the family. He was one member in a series, and the series must not stop with him. He was not born by chance. He had been introduced into life that he might continue a worship. He must not give up life till he was sure that this worship will be continued after him. Again, this is how people have lived and thought for most of history. We are strange for not thinking this way. It is not past that must justify itself to us. It is much more, to my mind, we who must justify ourselves to the past for how we think. I'm going to dip out for a second and read a sponsor message. Our first sponsor is Solidi Exchange. If you're in the UK and you're interested in crypto, this might be useful for you. Solidi anchors crypto in the UK. Solidi is a UK-based cryptocurrency exchange and is FCA-registered. Its platform supports fast, simple purchase of Bitcoin and several other major coins, and it offers a phone-based OTC service for any other coins. The website is solidi.co, that's solid, and then an I.co. Quote number 3, from a Substack article titled "The Last Fertile Nation: Why Israel Refuses the Demographic Collapse" by Deconstructionist Jew, published December 2nd, 2025. The deeper truth is that Israelis broadly live in what Benedict Anderson called civilizational time, that is, the sense of moving through history as part of a collective project that extends before and after you. It creates a lived feeling that your children are not just your kids, but the next link in a chain you are responsible for perpetuating. Even secular Israelis, perhaps especially so, inhabit this space. They genuinely believe their children will build something they won't see completed. The state is young. The project is unfinished, and the future feels like it depends on them personally. Outside Israel, this perspective has largely collapsed. People no longer experience their society as a transgenerational project. Time is experienced individually. Optimize your life, maximize your experience, and then make a clean exit. There is no we that persists through generations, no story large enough to justify the inconvenience of children. End quote. I don't really have anything to add to that. I think it stands by itself. Another sponsor message. Our second sponsor is Legala. If you're a lawyer who has to spend a lot of time dealing with client intake, this might be useful for you. Legala is a client-facing chatbot for legal firms that uses artificial intelligence to automate client interviews, gather key facts, and free up valuable time for what really matters, your legal work. The website is legala.app. That's legal and then an A, .app. Quote number 4. A Substack note replying to the article that provided quote number 3 by Kaiser Bauch, who is a Substack writer who writes a lot about demographic decline in the developed world. Published December 19th. Where I live, in the Czech Republic, life does not feel particularly anti-family at all. There are playgrounds everywhere. Children are visibly present in public spaces. Pavements are easy to navigate with strollers, and grandparents in most cases play an active role in helping to care for their grandchildren. There is also a reasonable and non-negligible level of state support for families. And yet, fertility remains far below any desirable level. The reason, I suspect, is that something more fundamental is missing, a shared grand narrative. Post-communist Europe is not strongly shaped by the openly anti-familial or oikophobic, self-critical progressive ideologies found in parts of the West. Instead, the dominant leitmotif of the last 35 years has been essentially material. Let's get wealthy, let's grow, let's catch up with the West. That, however, is not enough. So I have a few thoughts, and then I'll wrap up. Fertility rates are low throughout the developed world. This will put enormous strain on our societies very soon. They've been low for quite some time. Our societies view having children as a personal choice, similar to having a hobby or pets. We basically treat parents as strange outliers to society, who are potentially evil and must be watched at all times in case they mistreat their children. So, from the point of view of a parent, society itself is dangerous to the family. It leans hostile. To reproduce effectively, humans must exist in a religious group of some sort. Otherwise, you aren't part of an eternal chain of existence, and it's hard to justify the expense. In time, for certain, and usually in money, quite significantly. Our birth rate is low because we exist outside of a meaningful shared story. The only story that our culture tells itself is that it is bad and should end. I completely agree. Any culture that does not prioritize children will end, and therefore, in a pragmatic sense, should. A new story will rise, this much is certain, because whichever humans come next will tell themselves a functional story, by definition. The most interesting question to me, therefore, is what story comes next? That's the end of the episode. If you want to support this channel, please click the like button. If you would like to see future episodes in your feed, click the subscribe button. If you can think of anyone who would enjoy this episode, please share it with them.
And if you have any ideas for future topics, my contact details are in the description. Thank you. Okay, that's it for now.